Hello everyone, it's Nori here, and today I wanted to talk to you about Anchor by Spotify. It's the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. So Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. The music that you hear on my podcast, when I have to edit people's conversations on my podcast, I do it all on the Anchor app. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. There are about 8 or 10 different places you can post your podcast just using Anchor. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And best of all, it's totally free. So if you are interested in starting a podcast, I suggest that you download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. On this episode of Discovering Me, I have my friend Lamicia Genova. Lamicia is a minister, a wife, a mom, a friend, and so many other things. Wearing all of those hats, it can be difficult to find time for herself, and I'm sure you can relate. However, refueling yourself in order to be the best version of yourself is so important. Lamicia shares all about the importance of taking time for yourself, what it means to have a Sabbath, a rest day, how to say no in a godly way, and how to have grace with yourself when you're just too tired to do all of the things. So tune in for practicals and tips on how to make time for you. I am discovering me. Discovering me. My identity was hidden, taken from me, long before my ancestors began hanging from trees. The serpent, he was the real thief, deceiving my sister Eve. He made me forget I was royalty. My father is a king. I am the daughter of the everlasting, loving, omniscient three. He came to give me life. This world wants to take it away. He never intended for it to be this way. Free will, a blessing and a curse. Say my name. My life matters. God said it first. Discovering me. Redefining my identity. Made fearfully and wonderfully, flaws and all, my destiny was altered when I heard his call. I can't see where I'm going, but I know what I'm leaving behind. My faith is blind, lamps at my feet as I shoulder his load. I feel light, I see life as I walk the Samaritan road.
I'm like, what am I?
Hello everyone, this is Nori, your host of the Discovering Me podcast, and today I am super excited because I have my friend Lamicia Genova on the show, so I'll go ahead and let Lamicia tell you a little bit about herself.
Well, first of all, I'm happy to be here. I'm like, ooh, this is so cool. Talking to Nori on her podcast. I'm honored, first of all.
Aww.
Yeah. So my name is Lamicia. I'm a youth and family minister at our church, and I'm a mom. I have a husband. Can't forget about him, right? And yeah, I'm also. It's funny. I don't really like to claim this a lot, but I feel like I'm an artist in a way.
Yeah, you are.
I love painting. Oh, I appreciate that, Nori. I don't see myself that way at all, because I just love doing it. It's amazing, so
that's the best kind of expression.
Yeah, totally. So I feel like that kind of sums me up. I'm there's a minister part of me with the kids and the teens, but I just love painting. It is my escape from the world. I could do whatever I want to do. It's freeing, it's therapeutic, it's everything. So yeah.
Awesome. So today, Lamicia and I are going to be talking about boundaries and what it's like to set boundaries, why she has... So the reason that we're talking about boundaries with Lamicia is because I feel like Lamicia is a great example of a person who is able to set healthy boundaries. I really do. I feel like, I feel like you do really well at saying, no, I can't do more. This is kind of where it is. I feel like you have that awareness about yourself. And maybe it's because it's an area where I struggle. I often overextend myself and don't recognize how
All of
much,
you.
yeah,
Yeah.
don't recognize how much like physical time goes into things. And
Yeah.
so when I see you, I feel like you're really good at saying, no, I can't do that. I've already committed to this, this, and this. And so it's kind of like, sorry, but I have
Oh
to,
my gosh. Right,
set that
right.
line in order to not go crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. No, totally. I just feel like, yeah, I feel my threshold, I feel like it's kind of low sometimes for life sometimes. I just have to set those boundaries for myself because and it's hard because I don't want my boundaries to have boundaries. Sometimes
Hmm.
I get to that place where it's like, oh, I just can't do it. But it's like I can still push myself a little bit
Right.
sometimes to do certain things. But I know if I keep doing that and if I keep just like saying yes, yes, yes to everything, I'm the one who's gonna die. Like I'm the
Right.
one that is gonna affect me and it's gonna affect the kind of wife I am, the kind of mom I am. And so it's just to me it's just not worth it to push myself to the point where it's like I'm dying,
Right.
And so, but I'm like, I'm hearing you say all these things about boundaries. I'm like, man, is that really me? Because it could be so hard to like, to find that, like, I was talking to my therapist and she called it, because I was like, yeah, it's hard to find the balance between like being a mom and setting the boundaries and this and that. And she was like, balance, like that word makes you feel like you can do it all, but
Hmm.
really it's about like harmony. It's about like, and harmony, that word just sounds better to
It
me. And it's
does.
like, but I can't do it all. I literally can't. And so what is the most important thing that I need to be doing and just kind of like doing that and sticking to that.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, that's kind of like where I'm at. And I feel like I guess I'll always be, I feel like setting boundaries and just juggling or finding that harmony. It's just not easy. I always feel like I need to arrive though, like it just, I need to be here. Like, but no, I am just, it is what it is. I'll always be reassessing and, saying yes, saying no, though I hate disappointing people. So that can be a tough part
Right.
about it. But I just try my best, honestly. It's like, yeah. So,
Yeah, there's only
just
so much you
harmony.
can do. What do you
Yeah.
think, like, how do you think that you got to this place that you recognized that you needed to set these boundaries? Because, like I told you, I'm not often aware, I think, of my emotional capacity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so that's usually what causes me to overplan and
Yeah.
overschedule and, well, I
Yeah.
have time here, so I should be able to do it type of thing.
Wow.
There was a
Yep.
time where I would literally be like, okay, I get up at this time, I have my quiet time, I go to work, and then after work, I'm going to run over here, then I'm going to go do this, and then I'm going to make dinner, and then after dinner, I'm going to wash the dishes, and then I'm going to go do that, and
Yep.
then I'll be done for the day, and I'll go to bed, and then I'll start it all over tomorrow.
Yep.
Yeah, not good.
Yeah. No, but I can relate to that. Like that. So, how did I get there? Jeez Louise. I just think I used to do that all the time. Like, feeling like, oh, I have a slot here. Why not fill it? Like, why
Right.
not do it? And so I just think I've gotten a lot of help though. So a lot of times I don't recognize it in myself. It's funny you say that. Other people recognize it in me. And so for instance, like Patrick will just like be like, "Hey, you look stressed. You look
Hmm.
like you're tense. You're not really talking. You're in your phone. You're distant. What's going on?" And normally, I know that's when I've been doing too much. Like, and so it's Patrick. It's yeah. It's I've had Florence. I've had people in my life that are like, "All right, let's look at that schedule there. All right, you have too much there. What can you move? What can you not do?
Right.
Have you made time? Have you put in time to make dinner? You know, did you did you clean your sink? Like those kind of things. I've had to just make sure I put those things in my schedule as well. And so I've just made a lot of mistakes and filling it up, and then at the end of the day, I'm just drained. And
Mm.
so what happens is I usually swing the other way and just don't do anything because I'm so stressed out, and then feel bad, and then pile it back on again. and then do too much and then feel bad. Like it's a cycle, you
Right.
know. So I've just had to say, here's my limits. Here's what I can do today, and I'll put a number on things. Like here's the amount of appointments I'll have today, and that's it.
Right.
You know, I'm not taking any more. I'm sorry. We can do next week. Because I think sometimes even with the nature of even just my job and being a minister, it's like I don't want people to feel like I don't have time for them.
Hmm.
you know. And so Florence was just telling me like, but you can tell people you can do it next week, and I'm like, oh right, like I can. It doesn't have to be. I don't have to cram it in this week. I can do it in the next week. And I'm like,
Right.
oh great. I don't have to kill myself this week. People understand that as long as people feel like you care about them, right? Or you want to get with them, like, oh, I really want to get with you. Let's do it next week. People are like, oh yeah, fine, like,
Right.
sure. And so those are kind of ways that I have to just set those boundaries with, myself, because it's just, and especially spiritually, even if I'm so busy and anxious, and I'm not setting the time to have time with God, then that's another way too, where I'm like so anxious in my quiet time. I can't even or my times with God, I just can't even focus on it.
Mm.
I know I probably got something else going on. I need to let some stuff go.
Right. Do you
But
feel
yeah.
like becoming a mom has made that clearer for you? That, yeah. How
Mm-hmm.
so?
I'm like, man, time is precious. I'm like, time. I have to use my time effectively. And then even so, sometimes I'll be working and I'm home, and then I can even see like for Jacob, he's missing me.
Hmm.
So then I'm like, oh no, I need to, because I can work around him. Like I can
Right.
work when he's next to me, but then he starts like tugging at me, like calling me mama, mama, and then I'm like, I think I need to put the phone away and pay attention to him. And so I have those dedicated times, and that's like normally like before his nap, before bed. Like
Right.
those are times where I just have to put the phone in a different room and play with him. And usually I go back to my phone and it's blowing up or someone's calling me, and then I can get to those things. But I have to put the phone away and dedicate my time to him, because yeah, he'll feel it. I don't want him to feel like neglected,
Yeah.
because we're in like our my job is unique where I can work around him. And so if he was in daycare, which Lord willing he'll be in soon,
Amen.
right? That would be great. If he was in daycare, he would have the attention of his teachers like all the
Right.
time. But I'm home with him now, so I'm like, you know what? And these are such formative years.
Yeah.
Again, I guess I always think future. I'm like, it's not worth it right now to neglect him. Like he will feel that, and I'm gonna have to deal with those consequences down the line,
Mm.
and beat myself up. So I just know first I'm a mom before I'm a minister.
Amen.
And so that's kind of my conviction, first and foremost. But he also doesn't run my life as well.
Right. Yeah.
There's a balance.
Right.
He also
Exactly.
has to know that mama's working. you know, you go play with your toys,
Right.
and he's usually fine with that. So
That's
yeah,
cool. And how do
yeah,
you think that it affects your marriage? Like, how do you think that having those boundaries, those healthy boundaries, helps your marriage to thrive?
man, it's like everything. And you know, because when I'm fully present and I'm myself, and I'm everything's kind of set in the right place, and I'm not overworked, those boundaries are just everything, because then I'm able to give time to Patrick. I'm able to cook, and that's kind of my role in the house.
Right.
Fine, and so that's what I've chosen to do, and so I have to do my part, and so I'm able to do those things.
Right.
There are times where like Pat's like, "Yo, what's going on?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm so busy. Then I have to reevaluate again. Like this is what I said I was gonna do, so I need to be able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So what did I take on that I probably shouldn't have? You know?
Mm.
And so he can feel it, and he's like, the love of my life, and he's comes before even Jacob.
Right.
So it's just kind of like I have that covenant relationship with him that I have to make sure I'm honoring first and foremost. which is so, so tough.
Yeah.
So
But
tough.
even that, I feel like is like a healthy boundary. Like, you're setting that boundary for your son, letting him know, like, look, I care about you. Obviously, we're going to do our best for you. But at the end of the
Right.
day, I have to take care of this because if
Yep.
this relationship fails,
Yeah.
then the relationship that's with our child is not going to be healthy.
Exactly. Exactly. And so it's like, yeah, yeah, it's not going to be healthy. Everything will fall apart.
Right.
And so even if that falls apart, if my marriage falls apart, everything else falls apart. And so I won't be able to minister to anybody. I
Right.
won't be able to help anyone because I'm out here just like marriage is a mess.
Right.
Like I can't help you. And then I also feel like a hypocrite. Like my marriage is a mess and I'm trying to help you. Like something's not right about that.
Yeah.
So I just feel like it's really just what's the priority.
Yeah.
What just going always back to that. What's the priority before God? Is he pleased with what I'm doing or what I'm putting first right now?
Right.
So that I'm always having to evaluate that. It's just huge. There's this book called The Best Yes.
Yes, I've been reading it because of your suggestion.
Have you?
Yes.
Yay! Oh my
It's
gosh.
so
That
good.
that and she has a podcast too.
Oh, I
Norris,
didn't know
right?
that.
Uh-huh, she does. She does. Anyway, but her book specifically The Best Yes. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Like,
Yeah, I've been
she talks
enjoying
about.
it.
Oh my gosh, it's. She just talks about how, and I just relate to it so much. Where she's rushing to do like things that she feels like she needs to do. Like, oh, we have to go there. We have this birthday. Da 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 da. And then you kind of can miss the people right in front of you.
Right.
That like caring for people. Like always reevaluating what's my best yes today. And so it just helped me to think, wow, I don't have to do everything like, because then you do everything and then you end up almost being ineffective. I feel
Right.
like in a way, And so it's like, yeah, it's really not all about doing all this stuff, filling my day with all these things. Like what does God want me to do today? And
Right.
that's it.
Yeah.
What's the most important thing? What does He have set in front of me today for me to do? And doing that, and that's it.
Right. Yeah.
Something small. It could be serving my husband today. It could be, something with Jacob, uh, something with someone else. Like, I don't know, ministering to someone who just maybe lost someone.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe a neighbor who just, how how often do I walk down the street and just say hi to a neighbor, reach out to a neighbor, and see how they're doing?
Right.
But I'm so busy. I'm too busy.
Right. Right.
So it's like it doesn't even make sense.
Yeah. And how do you
it.
think that, like, and you know what, actually,
Yeah.
Recording
yeah.
Recording in progress.
Okay, so what I was about to ask is how do you feel like, so we talked about like with your son and with your husband, but how do you feel like you make that time for yourself? Like having those boundaries, like you said, like you like to paint, like those types of things give you, refreshes you and fills you
Right.
back up. So I was
Yeah.
basically asking, like, yeah, how do you make that time for you and make sure that you have that carved out?
Yeah. It's, man, that's a battle. It's a fight. It's like a wrestle, because how often do we just put ourselves last?
Right.
Like don't take care of ourselves and then we grow bitter because we're mad that we're just doing everything else and we neglect our own self. And so, yeah, I think becoming a mom actually kind of pushed that issue, because if I am not doing well, I'm uptight, I'm stressed, I'm angry, bitter, whatever. Jacob, it affects him, it affects Patrick, it affects everyone. So I've always had to say to myself, it's funny. So just yesterday, Pat and I were just talking about this because we were trying to go over like this week, and this is something that we try to do every week is go through what's important. What do I need to do? What do I not need to do?
Right.
And so, and himself as well. And I was like, Patrick was like, yeah, and sometimes I know you want to paint, but maybe you shouldn't. And I said, wait a minute. I was like, wait, no, I want to paint. So then he said, well, do you want to paint or do you need to paint? And I said, I need to paint. And then it became, all right, then that's a priority. And I was like, man. And he was like, okay, well then where does that fit in your schedule? You got to make it fit. Put it, and I'm like, wow, that changes everything. Like, is it a
Right.
want or is it a need? And it's a need. So I guess it's figuring out. I had to figure out what is it's just a want or a need. And so just yesterday, I was like, this is a need, because before I kind of thought about it as just a want. So I just do it when I just willy nilly when I had time, like. But in my back of my head, I'm like, man, I really want to do that. Like,
Right.
I really wish I didn't have to make that phone call. I really just want to paint, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But now that I'm like, no, it's a need, then I even need to have the discipline to do it. Like, it almost even becomes like, if I'm gonna put it like in my schedule, say at the end of the night, and that's when I'm gonna do it.
Right.
Early in the mornings, if it's there, then I just need to actually do it. Like, just to be disciplined to actually do it. Because even that, sometimes again, I can find something else to do, and I forget that I need this.
Right.
So I'm like, all right, now that's a need. I'm gonna try to do it every day. Not to say that I will, right?
But it's a goal.
Yeah, it's a goal, exactly. So, even tonight, I'm like, I didn't do it today because I woke up late. So I'm like, all right, then I'm gonna do it tonight, maybe even just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know I feel better after. Like, I feel like, oh, I got to do something for myself today. So finding time for self-care, man, and I know, yeah, so I really, really try to just find those, like, hobbies and those fun things that fill me up. Like, I have to do those things. Be
Right.
disciplined with those things. You feel like it'll just come easy.
Right, exactly, because you're like, oh, well, it's something I like to do, so I'll get to it.
Right. Isn't that funny?
Mm-hmm.
And then we never get to it, and then we're mad. It's like, well, but you weren't disciplined enough to actually do it.
Right.
So I can only be mad at myself. So, yeah, because again, this is personal. I've been feeling it lately.
No, I hear you. I hear
I
you.
gotta make something. So, but yeah, so that's kind of my thing, and doing my nails and other stuff, like, girly stuff. Time to do my hair.
Yeah.
That's another thing. So,
Yeah, I think that's something I've had to learn. So it's funny because something that Jeffrey pointed out to me is that every time I find a hobby, I turn it into a job and then I don't like it anymore.
Ooh, Jeff, that's deep.
Yes. And I didn't realize I was doing that because in my mind, I'm like, well, if I could just do this all the time, then it would be so fun.
Yes.
But the only way you can do that is if you make it a career. So let's make it into a career. And then it puts all of these like logistics and you have to do this and you have to keep up with that. And then it's not fun anymore. And so like for me, making jewelry started off as a way to kind of just like relax.
Yep.
It was just kind of something I could do. Just, I have nothing to do right now. I don't really want to watch TV, or maybe I want to watch TV, but I also want to be creative. It's something I can just do. And then I realized when I started the website, the reason that I didn't like doing the website is because people wanted the same thing. And I don't want to make the same thing 20 times. And that's the same thing that happened when I was sewing. It's like, I don't want to just keep making the same thing over. Like, that takes the fun and the creativity out of it. It's just like, okay, well, now this is like just mass producing the same. I'm not a machine. Like,
you just the joy. Yeah.
Exactly. And so now that I'm realizing that, I'm like, okay, so I can still make jewelry, but there's no way I'm going to wear all of the earrings that I make.
Yep.
So some of them aren't even my like style. I just like the way it looked when I made it. So so then I'm like, okay, I can still do like little vendor fairs here and there where it's like I can still sell them, but it doesn't have to be so like a job.
Yeah.
And so like yeah, like even putting boundaries on that for me is something that I'm learning, is realizing like not everything has to be lucrative. Like I can just create to create.
Man, I feel like that is a millennial issue.
Right.
Millennials are all about like turning the hobby into a job, and people tell you that too.
Yes.
Like people are like, oh yeah, why don't you just make it you could sell on Etsy, that you could do, and it's like, then you're like, oh yeah, I can make money from this, and then I can make this into a business.
Right.
And then you just lose.
Yeah, it doesn't become fun anymore.
Yeah.
It's just like,
That's kind of what it is. I think I'm protective of painting at the moment. I'm really protective of it because I'm like, I don't want this to become this is my thing.
Right.
It's been my thing for a long time. I would literally paint and put it like away. Like all the canvases would just be lying on each other, tucked away in a corner, and because it wasn't for anybody else besides myself.
Right.
So, and it still is. Like I'm really trying to keep it that way. I don't want to don't got to make this into a business, Lamicia.
Right,
Like,
right.
It doesn't need to be a business. Just paint because you love it. Like,
Exactly.
if people want to painting, cool. If not, whatever.
Right, exactly.
Like, it doesn't have to, because then, yeah, it will become a stressor. I'll feel pressure. Like, and then I feel like, oh, nobody doesn't like it.
Right.
And it's like, no.
That part, it's like that feeling of like, well, are people going to want to buy this? And then you start creating for other people instead of yourself. And it's like, I don't even like this. I don't want to do this.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I thought I was the only one that thought of that. Like,
Nope.
You know, how that happens. Yeah, that is such a millennial mentality.
Yes.
There's so many opportunities these days.
Right. I think because like, it's happened to me with sewing. It's happened to me with jewelry. It's happened to me even with this podcast. It's like, ooh, I could do this and I could do that. And I have to kind of like pump the brakes. And it's like, all right, if I make money, great. But I'm just enjoying having conversations and even like feeling obligated to make sure, oh, I have a meeting scheduled for this day at this time and I have this and that and I have to have the consistency. And it's like, okay, this was supposed to be a therapeutic outlet. Something that I was able to just kind of express what I was feeling. And now all of a sudden it's a job. And I feel like if I don't have these conversations, then I'm a bad podcast host or, something like that. So, yeah.
You're awesome, Nori. This is great.
Something I'm learning how to fix. That's why I'm taking this break in April so that I can kind of figure it out and kind of get back to a place where it's fun.
Yeah. I saw your reel. It was great about taking time.
Yes.
I was like, good for you, Nori.
Yeah. Because it gets overwhelming.
Yes.
And then it feels like, okay, well, this was fun, but now it's not anymore.
Yeah. And then you gotta like move on to the next thing. Like, oh, what else can I do?
Exactly. So.
Self-care. You should stay that way.
Exactly. So another question I had, and this is actually something I thought before we even started talking, is how do you motivate yourself to do the self-care things even when you don't want to do them? So like, for example, for me, I know that journaling and yoga and just having time to be like by myself and be creative help. But like, for example, today after my first half of work, because I had kind of a break today where I was whatever. Anyway, after the first half of work, I was like, oh, I feel a little overwhelmed, like I should journal. But then I was like, ugh, but I don't really feel like it. I'd rather veg in front of the TV and not think about anything. And then I'll go to work later and just figure it out. But I know that that's not the best. And that's how I end up in the situation where I just feel anxious all the time because I have all this underlying stuff that I haven't dealt with. But then as soon as I go do the yoga or I do the journaling, I'm totally fine. But finding the motivation to do it is so hard.
That's like, half the battle is actually like getting the motivation to do it, And look, I think some of it too is just being gracious with yourself. Even like, there are times where I know I need to do this thing. I'm feeling unmotivated. Maybe I don't do it today, but I'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'll make sure I do it the next day. Like, I just try to be nice, like, even just being kind to myself and gracious with myself. Like, all right, but maybe I'm just really, really tired and I probably should just take a nap.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I'll resume tomorrow and like, and also I feel like other people in your life, like, I'm so grateful to have a husband that knows, how I thrive.
Yes.
So he'll hold me accountable to those things.
Same.
Like, did you do that? No, you didn't? Okay, you should go do it. Or, even some small stuff like a part of my self-care routine, which I should keep doing, by the way. I stopped doing this. But like every Monday, I would just take a drive out to Starbucks, get a Starbucks drink, and then drive out to St. Mary's by the sea, which is like right by the ocean.
Right.
And just like have me time.
That's nice.
So awesome. I stopped doing it. I should keep doing it. But then Patrick would encourage me to do it.
Right.
And so that helped. Sorry, you can probably hear my son in the background.
No, you're fine.
that helped me to, he helped me to just do it because he knew how I would come home and honestly be a different person.
Right.
And so the journaling too. I love journaling. That's something I like to do. And it's like, I just know I guess I kind of think about the end result and how I'm really going to feel like full after I do this thing.
Right.
Like if I can really just, again, I feel like a lot of it too has to come down to just discipline and making it a habit. you know. I think God is teaching me that I really lack discipline with everything, even the stuff that I like to do,
Yeah.
you know. And so I think just having those even accountability partners that could just help, you know, that just they just know, all right, that you can be the best you. Like I can help you be the best you.
Right.
You know. So having those relationships are huge for me but again, there are times where I'm just like, you know what? I don't feel like doing it.
Yeah.
And I'll do it tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
But I tell myself like I will do it tomorrow.
Right.
And I have to do it. Like, and so, because yeah, I know I need those things, but geez Louise, it's again not perfect at any of this stuff at all.
Right. And we're not expected to be.
Yeah, exactly. But even as you ask this question, I was like, oh man, geez.
But you're so good at it. I think that we always see like ourselves so much worse than other people see us. Like people for whatever reason think that I am extremely outgoing and that I love talking to people. That's not that is in no way true. I could sit at home by myself all day long and not care.
Same girl, me and you
exactly. But I'm learning how to be like, okay, let me at least be kind. Like I'm not like, I'm not mean to people, but I'm not the person to go start a conversation, but that doesn't mean I can't be in the conversation. So I think it's just we have to learn how to give ourselves that grace. I think you're right. I think it comes back to what you started with, like recognizing like, yeah, I'm not where I necessarily want to be, but I'm not where I was. So we're going the right direction.
Exactly. And everything's going to be okay.
Exactly.
It's not the end of the world, like
right.
I'm going to be fine. And just getting the help you need. I think even just prayer too. Is just
yeah.
It's motivate me to do this right now because I know I need it. Please help me to do it.
Exactly.
And somehow, some way, I end up doing it. I'm like, wow, God, how did I get here? That's clearly you.
Right.
Because I did not want to do this thing. And so, yeah, it's a lot of it. Sometimes it's just prayer. Flat out, just help me to do this thing. And more oftentimes than not, I end up doing it.
Right.
And I feel great after. So it's just, totally worth it to just the self-care.
Mm-hmm.
In a society where it's like, go.
Exactly.
Go. And it's glorified too, and that's what I hate. I'm like, you're seen as just like, oh, go get her, great, you can conquer the world, like, and it's glorified, and I'm like, I'm not like that,
right?
And I don't desire that lifestyle,
right?
I don't, like, I crumble,
yeah,
and so I just have to be okay with even just being myself. Like, I'm not like that other person who could just go.
Right. And I don't think we're all meant to be. I think that's why we're all different, I think that that's something that I've had to learn, especially in the last year, is because I kind of bought into this idea that I needed to be and I like to do things. I like to help people. Right. So in my mind, I'm like, I'm doing all good things. This is great. I'm going until my body was like, we're not going with you.
Right. Yep. The mind is going.
Right. Right. My body
Right.
was like, that's cute. I'm going to go sit over here. And so it was like, oh, okay. Like, I have to rethink this. I have to really reevaluate, like, what my life is. And once I slowed down, I realized I don't like going anyway. Why was I ever doing that in the first place?
Yep. Yeah. Because everyone else is doing it. You feel like everyone else is doing it.
Right.
Or, you know your reason.
Exactly.
So, it's like, I was talking to Anne about this, Anne Marie, she's just like a therapist, and so she's amazing. She was like, your body will tell you when you're stressed.
Yep.
And then she asked me like what part of my body. I was like, my upper shoulder will start to like ache, and that's how I know I'm stressed. I was like, oh, my arm doing too much, I'm overworked. So now I know when my body starts aching, I'm like, oh, I've hit that wall.
Right.
So I was so insightful. I'm like, wow, yeah. Your body will tell you that you need to just stop and just shut it down, but then it's like, why do we get to that point all the time?
Right. Because we're just used to running.
We're just used to running. And I think, it just even just robs us of, it's also kind of American culture. Honestly.
Yeah. It's kind of, it's interesting because I feel like our generation is looked at as lazy because we don't want to run. but it's not, I just realized it's not healthy. Like,
No,
I was
no,
doing the
not.
running and I got burnt out in less than 10 years. So
Yes,
my body told
yes,
me no. I can't help it
right.
if my body stopped. Like,
Yeah,
and I don't think it's laziness. I think something that I love to say is work smarter, not harder. Like, I'm not
hmm
trying to run around forever to end up like, wait, was it worth it? Like, I want to
right.
enjoy the life that I'm living. I feel like I watched, and obviously my mom, like, her situation was totally different than mine. She was a single
hmm
mom. She had 4 kids. She had no
Wow.
choice but to run.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I respect that in her 100%, but
Of
I'm
course.
grateful that she provided me with the things that she did so that I don't have to be in
Thank you.
that same space. Like, I don't have to
Exactly.
run
That's why
because
she did it. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. Like, that's why she did those things because she wanted me to focus on my schooling. She wanted me to focus
Yeah.
on the
Yep.
things that were important at the time period that they were important so that
hmm
that way when I was ready to go into being an adult, I would have the skills and the tools necessary to complete those things.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
So,
It's just like, it's our, I feel like our generation, again, you said it's smarter, not harder. Like, we're known for that. Like, how do
mhm.
I accomplish the same thing
Right.
with the less energy, you know? But the goal is still, we're meeting the goal here.
Right.
So, and even, man, when we lived in Spain, it was like, oh man, on the mission field, when if you were going, it was almost like they would
Rude.
talk to you about it and
Hmm.
say, "What's going on? You just need to chill. Let's just relax." Like, it almost even just became like a kind of even disciple you want it a little bit. Like, what's going on? Are you really connecting to God, or you can just chill?
Right.
So, Spanish culture is very chill. I mean, they have siestas still.
Right.
Not
Listen, I
everyone
need a
takes it.
siesta.
Yeah, right. But it's like it's not frowned upon. It's actually great. It's embraced. It's like
Right.
enjoy your family. Like every night we would go out, and there's families outside eating, whole families eating, drinking, just having, just relaxing,
Right.
and that was the culture. The restaurants would open up. One restaurant, and this opened up early. It was like at 8:30. It would open up. That was the earliest restaurant opening,
Right.
honestly. And that because people were out late just eating and enjoying their life.
And
And
I
it was
love
like,
that.
yeah,
Because at the
that's
end of the
different.
day, what's a job going to do for you? You know, like your
Yeah.
job is a way to pay your bills. It shouldn't be your life. It should be
Yes.
a means
Yes.
to an end.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, what are we doing? Like, our culture is just like, because I feel like if you don't hustle hard here, we feel like, oh, someone else is going to get the
Right.
victory. Or, it's like we just got to do. And I'm like, no, we don't. I don't think we should be this busy. Like,
Right.
are we spending time with our families? Are we reading our Bibles? Are we like reading a good book?
Are we even spending
you know?
time with ourselves? I
Yes.
had 6 months
Yeah.
to spend with myself, and I was like, I don't know what to do. I was like, I had to learn. I forgot that I enjoyed reading, and not just
Wow.
like because I read spiritual books all the time, but
Yeah.
growing up, I used to read fiction a lot. I love
Awesome.
like just reading, and
Yep.
during that
Yep.
time that I was home, I was like, I could read a book.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even think of
Clean
that.
that stuff. Yep. Yep. It's crazy. It's almost So we have a Sabbath every like Sunday to Monday. And this past Sabbath, I was like, Patrick, I'm really bored. Okay. But he was like, it's better than being busy, right? And I was
Right.
just like, yeah. But I'm like, what can I do? Like, I'm so bored. Like, it's so bad. It's so bad to be bored. Like,
Right.
chill. Like, well, you don't need to do anything. And so even that, even taking a Sabbath is a discipline.
Right.
It's like, discipline myself not to do anything. And this Sabbath in particular, I couldn't wait to start working again. I'm like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? Chill out. Like, I don't know. I don't know
You
what
must have had a
happened.
go mode week, and then you were like, wait, I gotta turn it off.
Yes, yeah. Well, yeah, that's right. I did have a lot on my plate that I knew I had to do, and so I think I was anxious to get it done,
Mm-hmm.
so I couldn't. So that's why Sabbath is so awesome because it forces you to stop.
Exactly.
So I needed that because if you just keep going, it's just not good for anybody.
Right.
Yeah, whatever. And who knows? Maybe I couldn't have completed my week if I didn't stop in the beginning of the week to have the Sabbath.
Yeah.
So Yeah, it's just oh gosh, I hate it. I just want to that culture. I'm trying to. It's really hard though to go against that grain.
It is.
It's really hard, and I just know that I'll probably, when you do go against that grain, there are people who have opinions, and it's like I can't care about that because at the end of the day, like I have to be okay with myself.
Right.
I have to live with myself, and Patrick has to live with me too.
Right,
So,
right.
like, and then not until you're ripping and running, something happens to you, and then people are like, "Oh, you were doing too much."
Right. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But you know what's funny? My mom has been telling me I've been doing too much probably since 2014. She was like,
Wow.
you, because my mom works hard, but when she's not working, she's chill. Like, she don't go nowhere. She don't do
Great.
nothing. She's just home.
Come
And
on.
I'm like,
Yes.
how do you do that? Because if I was just going to work and going home, that part would probably be kind of depressing for me.
Yeah.
I feel like I just go to work all the time. I don't do nothing
Yeah.
else.
Right. Right.
But
Right.
she's really good at just, like, I'm tired. I'm going home. Like, she's just good at that.
That's
And
awesome.
she was always telling me, like, you're doing too much. You're doing too much. You're doing too much. I'm like, no, 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 it's fine because I'm going to take a rest
Wow.
over here and I'm going to do that. And look at me. Now I'm like,
Wow.
oh, okay. No, I was doing too
Yeah.
much.
Right. Well, it sounds like your mom must have learned it. Like,
Yeah.
now she knows, like, I have to shut down. I have to be like, nope, I'm done. Like, I'm
Right.
finished working. I'm tired. That's it.
Right.
So she
Because she'll
probably had
take a
some
nap in a
different
second.
experience. Yeah, right. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's an important skill, man. Like, because you have to stop for that, for
Right.
sure. You know? But yeah, it's like yeah, it's really really tough to just have that discipline. Patrick's dad too is like that.
Yeah.
Patrick's dad, he works really hard. He does really well for himself. But when he's on vacation, he is on vacation.
Good for him.
So sometimes for us, when we go to their house and we're kind of like on vacation, sometimes we'll throw a little work in there, and then Patrick's dad's like, "What are you doing?" Like, and he'll just call it out. Like, "What are you doing? Why are you working? Why are you on your phone? Get off! You're on vacation." And it's like, oh, you're right. And his dad turns into a whole different person when he's on vacation. Like,
Wow.
like he's just chill. He just knows how to relax.
Good for
So,
him.
because his job is high stress.
Right.
So it's so funny you're saying that. Like, our parents are trying to teach us to slow down too.
Mm-hmm. I think it's because as they get older, they realize, like, it's not worth the ripping and running. Like,
Right.
my
Yeah.
mom, my mom's not old. She's 50. So, like,
Okay,
she's
that's young.
51 now. But
Yeah.
she's not that old. And so,
Right.
but I think that she's kind of gotten to a place where she's recognized, like, life's short.
It,
Like, it's just not worth it.
it, it, and I feel like I'm so mad at us sometimes as a society because, like, even when COVID happened, though it was obviously really tragic, but I do feel like people realized, oh, I think we need to slow down. I think
Right.
part of what I learned, even, that I just need to slow down.
Yeah.
I can work from home. Things can still run and get done at a different pace and from home.
Right.
And then I feel like now that things have gotten a little better, we're just back at it again. Like, we didn't learn the lesson.
Right.
Like, I'm trying to really learn the lesson.
I am too. I'm not trying to be, I don't need to be having anxiety shakes again. I'm good. That terrified me. I literally thought I was dying at first. So
My goodness.
I'm
Yeah.
good. All those doctor's appointments and all of that stuff just to be told I'm doing too much, it wasn't worth it.
Wow. Nori, that's a huge, huge lesson, man.
Yeah.
But I feel like, yeah, God cared and loved you enough to have that happen.
Yes.
For you to realize
And
it.
you know what's really weird is I'm actually very grateful for it because I feel like I just didn't realize what I was missing out on, I guess. Like, I didn't realize what I was giving up. Like, I knew that I was tired and I knew that I was tired of doing the things that I was doing, but I didn't recognize that there was another way. I didn't
Wow.
see another option. I was just kind of like, well, this is what I have to do because this is blah, blah,
Yes.
blah. And like,
Way out.
I
Yeah.
desired to, cut my hours and do something different and go after other things, but it was kind of like, but can we do that? Like, can I afford that? But
Yeah.
I've just learned I just can't spend as much. Like,
Yep.
it's
Yeah.
okay.
Right.
I have to
Figure
sacrifice
it out.
on extra in order to be
Yes.
able to have my life. But you know what? That's fine.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, you end up figuring it out. Sounds
Yeah,
like you figured it out. Like,
exactly.
like I don't have to buy into the lie that, I'm gonna and I think with God, right, we're taken care of. Like we're not gonna you'll be fine. And I think you've realized that, like, oh wow, we're actually gonna be good.
Right, right.
And so but good for you that you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome because yeah, our health and our well-being just is not worth it. We just sacrifice that just all the time, and
Right.
I'm so yeah, I'm angry. Mad at
No,
it.
it's
Like,
true.
yeah, why do we do this? Like, yeah, I just think but it's got to stop with you. You have to make that choice, that
Exactly.
decision, and even if it may other people may even be mad at it, but
Mm-hmm.
it maybe even it teaches them that they need to slow down.
Right.
Who knows? Who knows? Because I just feel like you really gotta almost be selfish in a way to say, nah, this is my limit. I'm gonna have to stop here,
Right.
because this isn't good for me.
Right. And I don't even think that's selfish. I think that's self-aware.
Yeah, right, right,
It's
exactly.
just
It
being
is
aware of
self-aware.
your limits and aware of
Yeah,
what you can and can't handle and saying, if I continue to do this, I'm not going to be my best self and I'm not going to be of any good to anyone.
right, right. And realizing that it's not because you're weak.
Right.
It's not
Exactly.
because you're weak. It has nothing to do with who you are. Like, it
Your
doesn't
work,
define
the
you.
amount of work that you're able to complete doesn't define you as a person.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like when you meet someone, it's like, oh, what do you do? It's like you're almost defining them by what they do. Like, oh, they're a lawyer. Oh, they must be
Right.
smart.
Right.
Like
Right.
characterize them immediately. It's like, and I think even with like stay-at-home moms and stuff like that, I think sometimes people can look at that and feel some type of way, and it's like that is a huge job. Are
Yeah,
you
it
kidding
is.
me? So like,
You're
please
always in
stop. Like,
need.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'm not defined by that though. I'm so much more than that.
Right.
So who cares what I do? It's like,
Right.
am I a whole person, or I'm just like a shell walking around here
Exactly.
and just not being effective at anything.
Yeah.
Like that's not what I desire in life. So, but again, it's hard to do that. It's
Yeah,
hard
it
to
is. It is.
go against that grain, man.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. But I think it's proven in my life, honestly, to just be worth it.
Yep.
100% worth it to say, no, I can't do it. Here's what I can do. I
Right.
think it's also been empowering for me. It's like, all right, what can I do?
Right.
I got asked to help with an event, and I wanted to host the whole event. I'm like, yeah, and then I was like, you know what? I can't do that. So let me tell this person what I can do.
Right.
Then that helps them feel like, because then if I take on too much and I drop the ball, they're upset.
Exactly.
But if from the beginning I set the tone, like, here's what I can do, here's what I realistically can do for you. People are like, oh, that's great. Like, almost like, and they almost feel like, oh, that's maybe too much. Like, they're really happy with,
Right.
because I guess it's even just how you present it. Like, here's what I can't do. When you say, oh, I can't do that, people are like, okay, I can't rely on you. Like,
Right.
when you say,
Right.
oh, here's what I can do. It's almost like you're in control of it. You're in
Mm-hmm.
control of what your boundaries are, and here's what I can offer you
Right.
with what I have on my plate, and take it or leave it. But and most of the time they take it because and everyone's happy.
Right.
Everyone's happy.
Right.
And it's so empowering. I'm like, wow. But that's a tricky one because you kind of have to get ahead of it too.
Yes.
Like with this event, I had to get ahead of it and tell her, okay, here's what I can do. Let me figure
Right.
out what I can do and then get back to you. Or else people will tell you or ask you to do stuff that you don't necessarily want to do.
Right. And
you have to say no.
it's funny because when you say that, it's like you're trying to, it's learning to be slower in your response. Because I know for me, if someone's asking me a question, sometimes I can feel like, oh, I need to answer it right now. But it's okay to say, hey, you know what, let me think about it and get back to you in like 2 days.
Yeah, exactly. And
And
people
that's okay.
aren't normally okay with that.
Yeah.
Like, I honestly, as a person, I prefer that if you told me that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I really feel like you're going to consider it.
Right.
And you're taking this seriously. And I feel cared for.
Right.
That you followed up with me. Like, oh, okay, wow.
And I don't have to keep chasing you.
Right, exactly. It's like, so much of it is even just communicating effectively and just,
Mm-hmm.
man, it's a whole thing. But yeah,
Yep.
people are generally, I think, gracious.
Yeah, I
You know,
agree.
generally, not all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
But if if you have a close friend and you tell them, hey, here's what I can do, they're like, oh yeah, it's a mutual
Right.
agreement that we've signed on to, and it's all good. You don't feel overwhelmed. That person feels taken care of, and you're good.
Right.
So everyone's happy.
Amen.
Yeah, I
So to
know.
wrap up, I did have one more question for you,
Okay.
and this one's more of a practicals question because I know for me, when I first started setting up boundaries around my time and like I didn't quite get it right. Like I was like, oh, setting up boundaries around my time, that means I make sure that I have time to eat, I make sure that I have time to sleep, and then all the other time can be taken. Like
Right.
and
Yeah.
so now I'm learning that that's not healthy. And so basically my question is like how do you like whether it's a mom or a wife or even a single person just feeling like, well, I'm single, so I have all the free time, you know? Like
Mm-hmm.
what are practicals that you would give them for saying, okay, this is how you can go about making sure that you have those boundaries or setting those times for yourself?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the first thing you have to do is think about what is the priority, right?
Mm,
And then, and writing that down if you need to, putting it somewhere, like that's your first, that's going to determine what you can do,
yeah.
or goal for the week or whatever. And then practically, honestly, I have this like planner where that works for me, where it's like in blocks.
Hmm.
So it's called a Happy Planner. You can get it anywhere. You can get it at Staples. I just like the, sorry, you can hear my son in the background. It's set in a way where it's like it has like the week view is in 3 blocks, and so I'll put my, so that's my morning block, my afternoon block, and my evening block, and I'll write in like one. I'll try to just do one thing in each block,
Hmm.
and so that because that gives me space, because other things will pop up. Like I'll
Right.
probably do more in a day, but it gives me that margin in my schedule. Like always thinking about margin, leaving yourself margin. Oh my gosh, like, and so I won't pack it in. I'll leave it. I'll leave it more. I'll leave my schedule more bare, and so I have that margin. I feel like okay, I can fill it in with other things that may come up, but for the most part, I have my goal. Here's what I need to accomplish today. That's it. If I can do these 3 things today, I'm good.
Nice.
So, but then each stage of life is different. So if you're single, maybe you have more time, but is your, Patrick has this great analogy. Like, are you a laser beam, or are you like a regular like light?
Hmm.
So like laser beams are focused. They have the one thing that they're focusing on, like their goal. Then if you're a light, you're being spread all over the place.
Right.
So it's like a laser beam is more effective,
Right.
right? Like, well, whatever, it's more effective, and it's direct. It has a focus, and so I think when you're single, you have a certain focus. When you're married, you have a certain focus, and you're, whatever stage of life you're in. Your mom, you have that. What's your priority?
Right.
And so, thinking more of like a laser beam instead of like a random like light.
Right.
So for me, it's like so that's kind of like my biggest thing is that my planner is like everything.
Hmm.
Those blocks are in there, and I also practically too in the beginning of the week. That's when I'll like. So if you're working 9 to 5, then maybe like a Sunday night
Right.
is when you fill in your schedule or whatever you have to do for the week. For me, I can do it. I'm off Monday nights or Mondays, and so I can say, all right, I can plan my week out accordingly on that Monday, and so it's filled up with the things that I need to do, and so it's just great. And then I'll even write on the side in the margin of my planner, kind of like my goals for that week, and so that planner works for me, and so I think finding a planner, or some people like mobile. I'll actually use both. I use a Google Calendar and that planner.
Right.
Because I also need to see it written down. But then Patrick and I have a shared calendar on Google Calendar, so I know what he's doing and everything. So, yeah, I think just practically week by week, really being just disciplined in planning things out, and also putting your self-care in there.
Right.
Don't forget that.
Yeah.
Put that in there when you're actually going to do it, and make it a need. Again,
Yeah.
not a want, just it's a need. Like, okay, there it is. Boom, I'm going to do it at that time. And so you can look at your week and say, oh, wow, that looks good.
Right.
And feel good about the things you want to accomplish. And even sometimes with life, things even cancel. So then when things cancel, don't feel like you got to fill it back up. Maybe that's an opening that God's given you to do something for yourself.
Yeah. I know that God has definitely created openings like that for me where I feel like I've overscheduled myself in a week and I'm like freaking out and I'm like, okay, just take it a day at a time. And next thing you know, things start falling off because, this person has to cancel. And I'm like, oh, all right, God, you took care of it. I'm good.
That's an awesome feeling.
And if he hadn't, then I wasn't stressing about the end of the week all week because I'm focused on the day that I'm on. We'll just get through it a day at a time.
Right. Yes,
So.
Yes. That's also another practical, one day at a time. Things normally within a week, something falls off.
Right. Yeah.
Because other people have busy lives as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like
things happen.
Things happen. Exactly. So that planner has been everything for me. And obviously taking that Sabbath time.
Right.
It has changed everything, I think, for Pat and I and our family. Because I think it's cool is that it will teach Jacob even that you need to take a break.
Yeah.
There's a time for everything, and there's a time to work, and there's a time to chill.
Yep.
And those are equally important. And so it's just even teaching the next generation, like, you don't have to kill yourself.
Right.
You can stop, and even it's funny, even with the Sabbath, it's almost even been more of a motivator throughout my week to accomplish whatever I want to accomplish. Because it's like I've had that time to rest. I feel refreshed. Like my heart is different. Like
right.
I can conquer now. And so it actually helps me to feel better about my week. Not that I'm gonna pile stuff on.
Right.
But I feel good. I feel motivated. So yeah.
Awesome.
So that's my one practical, something I had to do regularly that helps me. So make it all happen.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for sharing. I really enjoid our conversation.
This was awesome.
Yeah, it was great.
So cool. Keep doing what you're doing, Nori. This is amazing.
Oh, thank you.
You're killing it. You're learning so much about yourself, and you're sharing it with everyone. And it's just really cool, Nori.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Great example. Yeah. No, of course.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Discovering Me. I hope that you are inspired and spurred on toward a deeper connection with God. If you're looking for a church in the Southern Connecticut area, search Southern Connecticut Church of Christ. And don't forget, tune in next Monday for a new episode. And always remember to faithfully pursue a life of passion.